And I was certainly not privy to all the information, but that's the impression that I was left with.
All right. Hold tight, Bob. We're at the bottom of the hour. All right. Once again, here's Bob Lazar. Bob, an obvious question, and one coming from Madison, Wisconsin on my computer is, were there any signs on any of the craft of obvious damage?
Not on the craft that I worked on at all. And, you know, everybody's wanted to know, well, how did we get them?
Sure.
And, you know, that's information I wasn't privy to. I would love to know, too. Was this, you know, you hear so many stories in UFO lore about an alleged exchange of technology. You know, did this actually occur? And I've heard people say, well, you know, we know there are crash retrievals. We have inside information. And you can't tell me that somebody came from 30 light years and 9 different advanced craft and they all crashed. It's not possible. So, you know, I could certainly see the Roswell crash occurring, but I just don't believe that flying saucers come here from a tremendous difference and they just miscalculate the weather conditions and they wind up crashing all over the place.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
I hear you. What about, did you ever learn anything of the material that the craft were made of? In other words, could you take a blowtorch and cut? Could you damage, dent, or otherwise bend, spindle, or mutilate the material the craft was made of at all?
I don't know. Again, that was compartmentalized. That's the metallurgy guys that got to play with that. The only contact I ever had was going in the craft, and then the first day walking by it, I stuck my hand out and slid it along the craft, and you know, it just felt cold, so I assume it's metal. But it certainly could have been an advanced ceramic or some other unknown material. But
it kind of felt like metal, though.
Yeah, it was. Metal has that, you know, cold feeling to it. The surface didn't feel exceptionally smooth. It was aluminum is the only thing that comes to mind, just you know, unfinished aluminum. But I doubt it was actually that. But
do you think was there any sense of weight? In other words, did you ever have an opportunity to see anybody attempting to lift or move any of these craft, getting an idea of the kind of weight they were trying to move?
No, I didn't. The only thing that caught my eye in relation to weight was above the craft in the hangar, there was one of those suspension cranes with a hook on it. And it was rated at 10 tons because they had that in big, bold lettering on the side. So that makes me think, well, if they in fact used that to move the craft, it weighed less than 10 tons. That's about as far as I can go on that. But I've heard people make comments that, you know, actually they only weigh a few pounds. But I don't think that could possibly be true. Number one is, you know, at different times moving into the craft, you're sitting on the extreme edge of it, and it would certainly teeter, plus the amount of equipment they had moved into the craft, lights and whatnot, for investigation of it. It makes me think it's something of some, you know, pretty sizable weight. It's not, you know, it's certainly not a flyweight piece of material.
Bob, you know, a lot of the interesting news stories I get about world affairs and maybe wars between India and Pakistan, all the rest of it, they come from the United Kingdom, which I think is embarrassing. It annoys me that I've got to get to news I can't get here from the UK. Your movie is going to be made in the United Kingdom. Are you going to have any input at all during the production of this movie? They're going to fly you over?
I don't know. I imagine they would. I imagine I would be put in a position as technical consultant at the very least, you know, if they wanted to progress in an accurate, truthful fashion. And I believe that Bruce did go over that already. So, you know, I'll at least be in that sort of position.
Bob, you have a list of names, which you've revealed tonight, of the other people that were there. You're speaking right now, I'm certain, to many of those names, and they're listening to you right now. What would you say to them at this point? I mean, you're out in the public. and your story has been hanging out there now for a lot of years, and now it's going to be even more public with a movie. What do you say to the other people that were up there, given a chance, which you have right now, to say something to them?
Well, you know, that's changed over the years. About the only thing I would like to say to them is contact me in some way.
You would think maybe by now some of them would have gone through a thought process that would bring them to the point where they'd be ready to be in contact with you and maybe others.
Yeah, and there's obviously a reason they haven't, because it's been 12 years. And
yeah, there is, and they haven't, and you're still alive. You wonder about that?
Not really, because the way things progressed, it would have been really detrimental to the program and to them if all of a sudden I disappeared. And probably the only reason for that was that John Lear's suggestion and insistence to go into George Knapp at the time.
Yes, and George Knapp is a Las Vegas.
He's an investigative journalist.
Investigative journalist, that's right, a big-time one here in Las Vegas. He's done a number of UFO specials over the years, and you went to John, and John said, go public, go to George Knapp.
Well, at the time, I think there was a few days there where I hid at John's house.
I remember that.
Because tensions got pretty high, so I just looked for a place I could stay other than my house because I had no idea what was going on. And the decision was made to go do that, and in fact, George broke in more or less. It was at the top of the 5 o'clock news in Las Vegas, and I went on in silhouette and said what was going on, and certainly if anything would have happened to me from that point on, it would have cast everything in stone and said, hey, this guy said so-and-so, and, it looks like it was true. If he was just a nutcase, what would you bother killing him for?
Well, they didn't erase you, but they kind of erased part of your employment histories and as much information as they could about your history with them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Bob Exler was one of the guys that did the research, and I think he was a NASA systems specialist, and now, I don't know about now, but then, was pretty heavy into UFO investigation, and he had some contacts down at the IRS, so I let him have all the information. My W-2 form from there, with Naval Intelligence and Social Security number, and, he went after everything. And from the IRS, he got notified that information regarding my Social Security number is classified, that the numbers, the employer designation numbers on my W-2 form were for, I forgot what bizarre government agency, but they were valid. And, he did bring up a lot of good information, and it ran into a lot of block walls that were completely inaccessible.
Even your history at Los Alamos was somewhat erased, although I'm remembering that you came away, or somebody came away with your name on an employment list or a phone list from Los Alamos.
Yeah, that was the only thing that they couldn't have deleted, was the old printed phone list. And, that's one of the things. On top of that, what proved to be a big plus, too, is, remember, again, the jet car article. And in the front page of that newspaper, in the first few paragraphs, now this is a small town, Los Alamos, everybody knows everybody's business, they say, Bob Lazar, a physicist working at the Los Alamos Mason Physics Facility. This is the Los Alamos newspaper, so... you can't go back in time and get rid of that paper. So I had that. I had my name in the internal lab phone book directory. So, they were stuck with that before. They had denied it for years. He never lived here. He never worked here. It's just a big lie. And
yeah, they did reach back and erase as much as they were able. They just didn't get it all.
Yeah, George Knapp is the only guy at the time that not that I trusted, but also had the ability to do this. And I flew with him back to Los Alamos and went back to where I worked and to the people I worked with and, the areas I got him into in the lab. And, he did a lot of footwork.
Look, I've had a lot of dealings with George over the years, and I've come to trust him. He's
a very trustworthy guy.
He certainly is. All right, very quickly, just a couple questions. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Bob Lazar.